Next up is Tech Warrior, tried and tested panel.
Well, welcome everybody to the Tech Warrior Tried and Tested panel. I'm Matt Howard. I'll be the moderator today. I'm the acting director of the Air Force Cyber Sitter program. And the Tech Warrior Enterprise is something that we've been involved with since the start. And so I'll have each of the panelists introduce themselves to you here in a minute, and then we'll move along with some questions so that you can see what we're talking about when we refer to the Tech Warrior Enterprise and how it interacts with small businesses. So let's start with John Matecki from Tech Warrior Enterprise. Could you introduce yourself, John?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. It's a pleasure being part of this panel, and thank you for having us. I'm John Matecki. I'm the Director of Training and Exercise. I've been with the Tech Warrior Enterprise since its birth of December of 2017. I've had the privilege and the honor to work with these three great Americans. I think you're going to enjoy to see the success and to see that folks have already walked that mile. So if you're starting out and you're looking to jump into the process, that these two great folks have already gone through that, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So looking forward to taking your questions, and really just want to highlight these two great folks. So thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks, John. Good, great. Let's move on to Jamie Bowerman, the founder of Bauer Bags.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks, John, for that fantastic intro. I am Jamie Bowerman. I am the founder and creator of Bauer Bags. It's a modular carrying system that lets you alter your weight load securely and on the fly.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. And then next we have Erin Dutter, the Director of Government Partnerships at Aries.
Yeah, our company is called Arise, which is
sorry.
hard. No, you know what? It's a you actually gave us kind of a nicer pronunciation than we get other times. So I appreciate that. So yes, my name's Erin. I am the Director of Government Partnerships here at Arise. We create performance and pre-injury, post-injury products to support the warfighter and reduce musculoskeletal injuries.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. So I'm glad to have you all here. So we'll start out with a little bit. John's going to get the stage here for a few questions to kind of give us all an understanding of what Tech Warrior is. So John, can you tell us what Tech Warrior is all about?
Yeah, so let's rewind time a little bit. Let's go back to a terrible event that struck this country of 9/11, and the subsequent two wars that were fought post 9/11 of being in Iraq and Afghanistan simultaneously. So the folks at the Air Force Research Laboratory understood that we need to put products out in the warfighters' hands, that we were in a new territory. And some of those products that were coming out weren't the best, is the polite way of saying it. So there was, there's a rumor that there's a 500-pound radio battery that will never die. It'll last forever. But who wants to carry 500 pounds around? So very little unknown fact, Tech Warrior was not always Tech Warrior. My colleague and my brother from another mother, Dan, was part of this before I was. It was actually Phoenix Warrior. And then Phoenix Warrior was ripped off by Security Forces Center because why would you come up with something creative? So then it morphed into Tech Warrior. So Tech Warrior was a 2-week event that took scientists and engineers out of the laboratory and was hosted at Fort Drum, home of the 10th Mountain. So really all it was a glorified training event for scientists and engineers. There's no money in training. No one pays for training, but it did give them the feeling of they knew what their customer did. They walked a mile in their shoes and had a little bit of understanding. So fast forward about 2010, 11, sequestration hit. Everyone remembers those bad times, not quite as bad as COVID, but a lot of programs got killed, and some of them got killed for bad reasons and never regenerated. But thankfully, like our logo, we're a phoenix rising from the ashes. So Tech Warrior did get killed. It came back in 2015 in same thought process of let's still partner with AFRL. Let's take scientists and engineers out of the laboratory, put them in their customers' shoes. But let's look at how we can get technologies tested and feedback in there. So it was brought to Fairborn, Ohio, just outside of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and it was run for 4 years. 2 while I was still in active duty military, that I had the privilege to come out and be the acting first sergeant, and then 2 years underneath the program that created Tech Warrior Enterprise. So Tech Warrior Enterprise, we realized that scientists and engineers, while they are great at what they do, don't necessarily give the feedback that you small businesses are looking for. So we thought, how can we do this? And during the last Tech Warrior, Operation Tech Warrior, we realized we had folks from military who came in to help us that were our instructors. And they were the ones that were giving the feedback that the customers were really getting, the small business customers were getting super excited about. So we said, how can we do this year round with actual subject matter experts? So we birthed the one logo that you see over my left shoulder here, and then another program that the logo's not up there. So we run two programs. Tech Connect is a one-on-one event. So this can be at any stage of your process. Sit down, chat, get some ideas, sit down and talk with your targeted end user to see if they're even really an end user. And then the big event that we run that we just finished one up at the end of October is Tech Warrior Ops, where both Aaron and Jamie participated in virtually in a non-COVID environment. We actually put your device in the warfighter's hands to get that feedback, and it's tailored specifically to your product. So the simple example is, if you're working on a new set of handcuffs and you want to know how it works on, cuffing up a suspect, you need to make sure we have someone that has hands, because that's where cuffs go. And then we want to get it into, obviously, a law enforcement person. While 2020 has been completely crazy and not completely out of the question, it wouldn't make sense for us to go to a local hospital and hand a pair of handcuffs to a nurse and say, provide feedback on how these cuffs work. So we bring in the actual targeted end user to get you the feedback. And the success is proven by these two great folks.
Great, John. That's a great description of how the program works. So how do you decide that a company is ready to be part of Tech Warrior?
So really, to be part of Operation Tech Warrior, we want you to give us something physical, so you have a widget that we can touch. The Tech Warrior Connect is more of that we can deal with you in the conceptual phase and talk through ideas and processes. Where we really get where the rubber meets the road is when you can give us something. So a good example is, if you're working on a pen, in Tech Connect, we can talk about ways that we would use a pen, sizes, other things we would like through the pen. I can't really give you the feedback that's actually gonna help that product get along. And so you hand me a pen, can't really see it because the camera washes it out, but then it can see it writes. It doesn't write upside down. That was one of the criteria. And then that's the feedback. So everybody's welcome. This has been while 2020 has been very disruptive for a lot of people, we've actually come up with new things. We did our first ever space event, partnering with the Catalyst campus out in Colorado Springs. Early October, we just wrapped up a cyber event, partnering with, going back to our roots, partnering with AFRL RI, which is their information directorate. So we really took advantage of this downtime, but we don't exclude anybody. Don't exclude yourself. If you've got something that's potentially relevant, let us massage it and make it into what it needs to be. And we love on everybody. If you're at phase 0 all the way up to the highest level in the TRLs, we think that with our subject matter experts, we've got a value proposition for each and every small business out there.
Great, John. And I think you covered it well in that there are many different organizations that you're working with. And so I know when I came into the program and heard about Tech Warrior, I'd never realized that we could do a Tech Warrior space event, right? So I think you've shown that you can go to all kinds of organizations. So that's great stuff. So before we move on to the company, so can you just give us a little idea, what have the results been of what the enterprise has done so far?
Yeah, so like any program, there's those that exceed and go on to greatness. Like these two folks that we're gonna hear from in a little bit. And it goes back to those of you who heard this earlier, I apologize for repeating myself, but it develops a theme. Hungry dogs run faster. And that's not my slogan. I hate to say this, but I'm originally from Philadelphia. The Eagles took that when they beat the Patriots. But it's true. When you are the underdog and you're hungry, you strive for success. So those companies, the companies that we've seen to paint the picture, they're hungry. They're hungry for the right reasons. And neither of these two that are on the panel they're perfect examples of success and why they were successful. While money is great and being a millionaire is awesome, that is not the end goal. And I think both of these offline folks would say that their end goal is they had ideas that could help a warfighter, whether that be our men and women that wear the uniform, or soon including our first responders. Mm-hmm. That if you keep that first and foremost, success follows. And if you keep hungry and continue to chase that, you're going to achieve that $1 million status or whatever it is. Our success has increased almost to points to where there's times I have to double check the numbers and get the facts, make sure that they're right, and it's just not fake news. So the first year, our numbers were only around, and I say only around, and it's kind of embarrassing to say that. We hit about $70-ish million over the first 2 years of the program. This year, all the facts are still coming in, so nothing is 100% related. But through one of our partners that works inside of Mr. Howard's organization, has reported that we're already north of $150 million. That's phase one, phase two plus ups, folks that got contracts, sales. So our ROI is a big, easy to grasp, but it's still moving that ball forward to get to the warfighter. So when you look at that, let's just call it 150. The investment was just shy, was under $2 million. The only companies that jump at the top of my brain that do that type of return with that type of number are these Fortune 500 companies that are dealing in billions. We were really just a test project. Up until this year, we were just a good idea. Let's see if it's stuck. And through God's fortune and some amazing people who busted all sides of their bodies, fought because they were that hungry dog. They were hungry, and we're now guaranteed 2021. There is going to be a lineup to be part of the Tech Warrior enterprise, and that line's probably going to start after you hear these great success stories that these folks have.
Thanks, John. Great to see all the enthusiasm behind the project. So, Jamie, so you kind of gave us an idea what Bauer Bags was. Can you give us a little more detail and tell us why it's something that's ideal for the defense marketplace?
Sure. Thank you. Matt, it's there's no short version, so I'll try to keep it condensed. My path is not, I guess, it's never been really a one-to-one for me. So somewhere 2011, 2012, I went to grad school and came up with this modular backpack. And I had put it on Kickstarter. No one had ever heard of Kickstarter. It was suggested I try it out. I had won this local pitch competition in Savannah, Georgia. And the kind of barrier that I faced after that was, okay, people came up to me and said, where do we get these? And all I had was this sort of Frankenstein prototype. So I set out on Kickstarter. It was successful. And I was then in the habit of pitching this backpack a lot. While I was out in Savannah pitching this backpack, I invented this new kind of clipping system along with it that I would showcase a little bit. And folks in the military would come up afterwards and say, hey, the bags are really cool. But can we get some of these clips, a much earlier version? And so that was kind of my aha light bulb moment. There was just a lot of things culminating at the time. I just started to hear about the SIBR program, but had the backpack wasn't really very appealing to the kind of folks I would talk to, but they seemed interested in the clips. And so that began this very lengthy process over many years of kind of developing the clips and then getting them together. And I would tell you this story, and I'll keep it short and sweet. It took me like 4 or 5 years to get the clips after many different iterations to a place where I felt like it was ready to go back out and talk to folks in the DoD. I tried a couple of times over a couple of years at different events, and you kind of got to talk to program managers one-on-one, but it was sort of hard for folks to see the immediate value in, even though it just had so many different use cases. It was hard to kind of hang on one. And so I got sort of tired of folks kind of tucking me into different places, or just wasn't really working out. And so ultimately I would go to these events to try to make it quick. I would wear the flak vests and I would have the clips, and I would sort of demo to the program managers really quickly, because you only have like 2 minutes. So you got to be fast about it. And I never really thought the Air Force would have an interest in something like this. And so I was standing in the back of the room wearing the flak vest, and this gentleman by the name of Mike Williams, Mr. Williams, didn't have anyone in his booth. And so he signaled me over to sit down and said, hey, what is that? It looks really interesting. And I gave him the demo, and he said, there's this brand new program where you can, have, war fighters or people inside the DoD just try out your stuff and get feedback. I said, oh my God, that would be amazing. What is this? What's it called? And he said, I don't even have a flyer on it. It's called Tech Warrior. And that became the impetus for how I learned about it. And it's been incredibly beneficial and helpful for developing the product. It wouldn't be what it is today without Tech Warrior. So I think it was not a very simple path. It was being tagged across the board. So I want to share that with anyone that's listening. A lot easier to find folks now, and it's a great program. Just stay with it wherever you're at.
Awesome, Jamie. Thank you very much. So Aaron, Arise, I got it right that time. So tell us a little bit about what you've brought to the Air Force, and why did you pick the Air Force marketplace as somewhere to bring your product?
Yeah, so we are an orthopedic and performance bracing provider. So we create typical back braces, knee braces, ankle braces. We sell those nationwide. But the past 3 to 4 years, we've added an NCAA athletic trainer and an orthopedic surgeon to our staff, who are the kind of more of the tail end of their career. And so they've been bringing us quite a bit of innovation and wisdom in terms of how to create products that don't limit people's performance. So they would be able to move and function in the same way, but would reduce the occurrence of injury. So being that we have athletic trainers in our space, we moved directly into the athletic market, and we've commercialized our products there, and we're starting to get good feedback. And then I at the time was the director of legal and compliance for our small business. So I started to look into grant opportunities and was quickly turned on to a SBIR opportunity through our Nebraska Department of Economic Development. And we started to engage there, and that introduced us to the Department of Defense. We got an opportunity to pitch to Tech Scout, which is where I learned about Tech Warrior. And from that point on, we really just started to try to understand what is the need of the warfighter, can we help? So we really weren't like, oh, the Department of Defense is this huge market. We really were asking the question, is this something they need? Is this something they struggle with? And so coming to Tech Warrior was a great opportunity, because we got to actually ask those questions and really find out how can we best support the Air Force. So that's why we engaged with the Air Force, was because we've learned of the need and validated that our product could reduce or solve a problem that they're experiencing.
Awesome, thank you very much. So this next question, I'm going to frame it to both of you. You've kind of hit on some of the tones, but so Jamie, if I asked you prior to Tech Warrior, what was probably the largest roadblock you faced in trying to become part of the defense marketplace?
Thanks, Matt. That's a great question. I faced all of them, so it's hard for me to sort of pinpoint one. From the time that I had heard about the SBIR program in 2012 or 2013, I put in like 5 or 6 different proposals, but when I would get these opportunities to speak with a program manager, they would kind of go, well, we have this other solicitation out, but maybe you can sort of tuck it into that, just give a shot, see what happens. And I guess I would say, having heard no many times, and it did get really hard, that I sort of kind of gave up on the program. I just assumed that what I was working on, I didn't really know how to get into it. My only thing that kind of kept me going to North Star was the end users, or the folks in the field, or folks in Third ID, or different people that would go, we really want to get these, we want to try these out. And so it just kind of kept me going all those times. Then ultimately, even with Tech Warrior, I kind of just like pushed SBIR out of my mind. It wasn't until I went to the first one, because I said, we have this SBIR program, and I kind of gave like, oh yeah, well, familiar, kind of been there, done that. They said, well, we have this new dual use open innovation. You should try to apply. And I was pretty good at writing proposals at that point, and I had proven some commercial success, and just kind of had the right components. But Tech Warrior literally became the impetus for me to just sort of try, I don't want to say again for the umpteenth time, with some feedback and with some specific use cases, and really tie it into a way that was relevant for the DoD. So I hope that answers your question. Again, with me, there's unfortunately not a super clean or short version, but thank you.
No, thanks, Jamie. That was great. So Aaron, kind of the same question to you. What did you see as the biggest barrier to try and get in this marketplace?
Yeah, I think our biggest barrier would be just trying to understand how do I interact with the Department of Defense. Not knowing and understanding the structure of the ecosystem. And then how honestly, and I would say maybe this is, we're gaining quite a bit of traction, but how do I really find those people that are trying to solve the problem that I know that that I know that we can solve or help provide a solution to? So those things honestly remain our biggest challenge. So.
Thank you, Aaron, very much. So John, is this typical, do you hear this typically from most of the companies that you guys deal with in the Tech Warrior enterprise?
Yeah, it's kind of a common theme of, to the credit of the United States Air Force, over the last, let's call it 2 years, things have changed drastically from the introduction of the pitch days, the new contracting sprints. So up to that, there was, almost a wall around the SBIR program that we're kind of hearing from these customers of, we didn't know where the door was. We didn't know how to get over that wall. If we touched the wall, someone would come out and beat us down and tell us we're no good. So what Tech Warrior kind of did, we've fostered relationships to see, okay, how can we soften, maybe they still touch the wall and they get beat, but maybe they only get hit once rather than 10 times. Who can we point them to help find that entrance? So obviously we looked internal first. The resources that we had inside the SBIR office gave us the navigation to say, all right, here's how we go. But again, this is not a hand up situation to where you just stick your hand out and money gets put in it. You have to be hungry to get through that. You have to be willing to get smacked when you touch that wall. You've got to be willing to walk through that door and be told, hey, this is not for us. Your product is, it's terrible. There's been a lot of companies that we've told them, hey, your product is not good at all, but do this to fix that. And taking that criticism and constructive criticism and moving forward is what allows them to be most successful. I almost think we're probably around 75% of companies who put in for a proposal have had some success. Maybe not the first time, but it's part of the process of they're willing to listen to the information. They're willing to look for partners. They're humble enough to know that they don't know what they don't know. But it has been a common theme up until about 2 years ago of doing business with the government. I mean, our government has issues, and we could go into a whole nother topic, but to credit of the United States Air Force, from the top down to the lowest person, has softened those blows and made it more business centric of we're here to help you because we want to get the warriors, the war fighters, and the folks that need these products, the products as fast as possible.
Thanks, John. So Aaron, tell me about what were your expectations when you came to Tech Warrior? I mean, what did you think you were going to see and experience?
Yeah, so I would say our primary goals were to learn and trial the product in a military theater to get military direct customer end user feedback. And our expectations were met. Some of the unique, I wrote down a couple of notes on this, a couple of the unique experiences that we had when we were at Tech Warrior that we weren't expecting, where we were in the process of applying for our first SBIR. And what was really cool was the participants that were attending Tech Warrior came around me and provided me support, kind of helped answer a lot of the questions I had. So those relationships continue today, which is a really cool benefit. You get a great network out of attending Tech Warrior. The other thing, obviously, was getting R&D feedback, which John talked about. We got some direct R&D feedback, which we implemented, that including adding, taking away and adding a few different components to our technology. We've done that up to this point, so we credit that to Tech Warrior. And then obviously seeing the product in action, the technology in action, and then getting testimonials from that, positive and negative. But those testimonials have really been helpful and beneficial to communicate the use of the product and its validity in a military theater.
Awesome, thanks. So Jamie, kind of the same question to you. What were your expectations going in, and then what did you experience?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. John, I'm going to go all the way back to the first time I ever got to speak with John Matecki trying to get into Tech Warrior, because I think it's kind of indicative of where I was at and kind of where my mindset always is. So I really had no expectations. I just wanted people to be able to try my technology and get their feedback, and I say this not as a slight or a dig at the SIBR program. And as John indicated, it's changed so much in 2 years. I'm so proud and honored to be a part of it and watch it grow. But the difference for someone like me that had kind of given up on it to going to a Tech Career program and getting the kind of feedback that became kind of the springboard for which I was able to iterate and develop new versions of the system for the warfighter was completely invaluable. But the first time I'd ever spoken to John on the phone, I'd sent the stuff in, and I was kind of doing a brief interview around, trying to get in this Tech Career program. So I'd waited like 9 months before they were able to host another one, and was really just looking for any avenue possible to have conversations with people that would try my technology. I'm the kind of guy, I will talk to anyone, I will pitch to anyone, I will give anyone my stuff and try it out. Very, very comfortable hearing no or why my stuff won't work. Get it all the time, particularly from veterans or kind of snake eaters, Green Beret folks. And again, I get it. My technology works in conjunction with a system that they've used for 50, 60 years. It ain't broke, don't fix it. They've had a lot of different efforts before, like the Alice clip that people have had a really bad experience with. And I come along with some newfangled plastic thing, and I hear a lot of, hey, it looks like plastic piece of junk. And I think one of the great things about Tech Warrior is, and the paradigm shift in the whole conversation is, instead of that 1 or 2 minutes where you're just trying desperately to kind of get your message across to someone, you can actually go, you know what, I totally hear you. Could you just do me a favor, and I'm going to give you these. Can you just go try it out for me and let me know what you think? And I've gotten some of my biggest and best supporters that way, from folks that look at the stuff and say, I would never use this, or this doesn't make any sense to me, that we're simply just willing to try it out. That was the game changers. The paradigm shift is I could give it to them, they could try it and give me actual useful feedback. And folks that went from I would never use this went to, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so that sort of spark that keeps you running and driving as an entrepreneur, you're able to share that with them, and kind of let them see and test it for themselves, and have those kind of aha moments together, and then get their feedback. And then if you're willing and open, to hear it, both good and bad, because it's not like, it's not always good, but I get some of the best jumps from, some of the negative stuff, what's not working. And that's what I always want to know. Those are the places that you can kind of button up to make the best product for the warfighter. And as you start to button up those areas, and it's a process, you wind up with some really great things. And so without the Tech Warrior platform, just would not be able to have those kind of conversations at all.
Great, thanks, Jamie. So, Aaron, did you find that when you got the feedback at Tech Warrior that you then had to make some modifications to your product to make it more usable for those folks in the field?
Yes, so we were, which, like John was saying, is hard at first to hear that you have to make adjustments, and, getting negative feedback means hard work. But the feedback we got was we really needed to adjust our product for long-term use. So we were using it, like I said, for athletes. So then it was extended to be more of like possible up to 18 hours, all the way up to 3 days to be worn. So we adjusted, added antimicrobial and wicking components. We reduced the amount of the laces so it would fit better in a boot. So that was really crucial information, so that comfort wouldn't be an issue. We worked on a faster application. So this product would be applicable in a basic training environment where they really have limited time to put the product on, or in a first responder type environment. And then we also found out that the product had a little bit of issues with people who had wider feet. So we really needed to find a fix for that scenario. Until we worked on that the entire last year and have implemented all those changes in our new iFast. So, and now it's green also. So that
green also, I like that. Awesome, thanks, Aaron. So Jamie, I want to ask you the same question because I think you've kind of covered that you've made multiple changes to your product. So here's a question, and we'll start with Jamie, because then my next question is going to be to John. But for Jamie and Aaron both, but Jamie, can you respond? So you went to Tech Warrior, they gave you feedback, and then you just got kicked out and you went and did your stuff, right? There was nothing else for you to get from Tech Warrior, right? No connections, anything. It was just you got feedback and you went and updated your product.
No, I think I know where you're going with this one, so I'll just kind of pile on from here. No, it was it's funny. It really is a community that for me came out of it. Both, so a lot of the great pieces too is not just connecting with the Tech Career program or the operators, the folks that come through, but connecting with other entrepreneurs, other companies like Aaron or other folks in the program. They've become, very kind of fast and lifelong, friends, really, some of these other entrepreneurs that, without, I hate to call other folks out by name, so I'll try to avoid that here, but without different companies being able to call them and ask them, hey, how do I fill out, a finance? I mean, it's stuff that in hindsight 2020 might seem pretty rudimentary for folks that have been on the inside of it, but when you're on the outside coming in, it's the moon. So a lot of other entrepreneurs and companies that I'd met there, we became friends or maintained the kind of connections, and those folks have been. I wouldn't be here without their support and just explaining simple things to me that are not always immediately obvious inside the program. But I, again, heard this from different folks, kind of getting, there's friends, mentors, just being open to making those relationships and fostering them, but having a network of people that you can rely on. So no, they didn't just kick me out and said, good luck, kid. The program was incredibly supportive, but also the connections that I made with other companies have been able to help get me from A to Z through the process.
Awesome, thanks. So Aaron, did you find your experience to be similar or have something to add to that?
Yeah, I would say mine is similar. Tech Warriors remained a resource for me, not only to celebrate when we first got our SBIR opportunity. That was one of my favorite interactions. I got to, we got the letter and we were so excited, and I was like, who can we tell? And so I got to tell Tech Warrior. So that was exciting. But Tech Warrior really helped us to narrow our focus within the Air Force and really learn more about who is our end user and who would be our potential customer. And they continue to support me in that direction, and also just continue when I'm really stuck, I'll reach out and say, what would you recommend for next steps, or who would you recommend I reach out to? And they're always willing to help and connect us to a probable next step.
Thanks, Aaron. So John, where we're trying to go with this, right, is obviously it's great to get the feedback from the users and the guys that are going to be out in the field and the gals that are doing their thing. But you've truly created a network in the Tech Warrior enterprise. So can you talk a little bit about what that network looks like and why you created such a network?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. The thing that we really wanted to separate us is we didn't want to be like everybody else. That's one thing we wanted to be unique, and that's what we were given the advantage to do. There's a lot of folks who, when you interact with them, it's very robotic, and we didn't want that. We wanted this to almost be family oriented, and I think we've succeeded on a couple of fronts. I just ventured into the 3D printing world, and that's how Jamie does his product. Called him up and said, hey, my son's looking to do this. Without hesitating, sent me so many resources I didn't know what to do with. On the other side with Aaron, I've got bad knees. Hey, try this product. So we broke those barriers of, we want those friendships, and we want to be able to go back to the well and help them. On the same side, we as the enterprise have to continue, because these companies are so outstanding that it humbles us. In order for us to stay on the same level with them, if it takes them 8 hours of work, we've got to put 16 hours of work in just to match the greatness that these folks are keeping to us. But we wanted to break that mold. Dealing with the government, there's got to be, especially since the SBIR program is congressionally mandated. So we know once we say the word Congress, all kinds of thoughts float through your head, and it's got to be very regimented because it's the law of the land that they laid down, and it's got to follow certain processes. But to get into that process, it's very indicative of it takes a village. I know because the village raised me. I used to be the village idiot, and they raised me, and now I'm part of the village. But you have to have that. It's no. I think both of these folks could say that there's no one. While I appreciate all the kind words that they said about the Tech Warrior Enterprise, it's not just the Tech Warrior Enterprise. It was Jamie meeting the gentleman who said, "Hey, you need to go to Tech Warrior," or he never would have known about the process. It's Aaron, who we met with one of our partners out of Kansas through their Small Business Development Center, of being tied in. So it takes all of those networks, and at the same time, we don't. Not going to say I know everything. We know that, and we know we don't know everything. But the one thing we do know is we can point to certain folks. Some of the folks that were on the previous panel right before us, Lauren in particular, she runs the Cyber TAP program. So we try to filter folks in there. We point to everywhere and anywhere we almost have turned into bird dogs of, I don't know, and our team doesn't know how to answer this, but look this way, look that way. And if we keep pointing, sooner or later, we're going to get the right information. And then we add that to our Rolodex to point to the next thing. The biggest networking piece that I believe both Jamie and Aaron would say it was phenomenal was bringing in the government tech scouts from the different major commands. So doing that was a humbling experience, especially in 2020. I'm very blessed and very privileged to be the face. If you guys look at Tech Warrior, you're going to see this mug, for better or for worse. But there is an amazing team behind me, and one of those is his brother from my other mother. These two know him well as Dan. And during COVID, we had to continue to push ourselves. It's not right that these small businesses are going to suffer because of this virus. How can we continue to push this forward? And while we were doing all this, it goes back to you got to stay hungry. We were hungry. We realized months later, working with the Tech Scouts, that we were actually official members of the task force for coronavirus because we were filtering technologies to them. So having those multiple networks, right now I've got an email address directly to that if I send it is going to go to the Surgeon General and very well could go to Vice President Pence. That's a big obligation and a very humbling, but that's the network that we sowed because we owe it to these small businesses, because at the end of the day, it's all about the warfighter and keeping this nation as great as it is for our kids. And we can't do that without partnerships and teamwork.
Thanks, John. So we're getting a couple of questions from the audience that I'm going to try and work in here before we're done. But before I do that, I want to ask Aaron and Jamie to give us. So Aaron, we'll start with you. So if you could give advice to a company that was going to go be part of Tech Warrior, what is that one thing or a couple small things that you would tell them they need to know before they go off to try Tech Warrior?
Yeah, so I would say number one, be open. Kind of, I think John's driven that point home. Open to feedback, so don't go in thinking you have, a completed solution. And then I think the other thing I would recommend would be that you come with 2 or 3 hypotheses about your technology and you would test those there. So whether, that would be through the verbal interactions or through the technology application opportunities, I think to really come away with some clear answers to those questions would be really beneficial.
Great, thanks. So Jamie, what about you? What are your thoughts on what would you tell somebody?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I think Aaron and John really nailed it. So I'm just going to kind of echo the same thing. It's just be open. You really don't know what you're going to get, who you're going to meet. and what kind of connections you'll make, whether that be, the small business sitting right next to you have become some of my best friends and allies, or the folks that are running the program and the dedication they put in, or from the war fighters that are rolling through just on an off 30-40 minutes to just kind of see what's out there that might give you something that can be a game changer for you. So I would just say kind of put your best foot forward and just come with an open mind.
Awesome, thanks. So John, I got a couple questions that kind of will lean towards you that are coming from the audience. So the first one says, is Tech Warrior limited to small businesses?
So that's kind of a complicated question and can be depending on the situation. So the easy answer is yes. We're funded through the Small Business Innovation Research Office. So we follow their guidelines of what small business is. The main driving factor of that we really want to maintain of our services are free for small businesses. So Jamie and Aaron have never given me a dime. While they've given me a lot of information that's worth more than money could possibly ever put on, but they never had to pay for our services. So the companies out there like Boeing, they can afford to pay for us. They can pay our fees. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that the small guys have a fighting chance in this, to where if you're a big business, probably 9 out of 10 leads to big profits. So you can afford to hire us to do your events. So we can work. We don't want to exclude the big guys, because we know that, Boeing could come in, or Lockheed, buy all these companies up, and that's a win. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that we keep to helping the small businesses. So there was a really political answer to say it's a case by case, but the easy answer is we work for small business.
Yeah, John, I think that's a great way to put it. I think that we, from my perspective, running the program is, our target is the small business, right? But ultimately, as you said, if a large business came to you and said, hey, we'd love to do an event, can you be part of it? Your answer from a company perspective could be, we absolutely could, and let's talk about how we do that, but it would be separate from what you do for the SIPR program. So I think that was a great answer. So here's another one, John, that I think is important, and we'll figure out how we respond to this. So, but what they asked was, do DoD researchers participate in Tech Warrior?
So we've had folks, name anyone who's across the board involved in the process from zero to market at some form or fashion throughout the 3-year history of the Tech Warrior Enterprise. Yes, those folks have been in there. It goes back to the old adage of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can drown that horse though, and hopefully it takes a sip. But we invite everybody. So if there's someone you're targeting, we'll reach out to them. So we don't exclude anybody. We've trust me, our last event that just concluded in October, the invite list went out to hundreds of folks. So we will invite whoever. If you say, look, we want to invite, the Surgeon General, we'll send them an email. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to come. So if there's someone in particular you'd like to try us to network with, by all means, let us do that for you. We'll reach out to them. Like Jamie's pointed out, heard the word no a lot. Well, okay, we'll just move on. We just know that you're not interested. Now we know where you stand from that point of view, or we'll go back to the well over and over until they just shut us off and say no.
Great, thanks, John. Yeah, I think that's a perfect answer, right? We're available for whoever, so that's great. So, Jamie, I know in your discussion we heard how you found out about Tech Warrior, and Aaron, I apologize if you said it and I missed it, but how did you learn about Tech Warrior?
Yeah, so we were attending the Encountering Innovation event through the SBDC, which is in Kansas. Okay. That was an opportunity to pitch to Tech Scouts. And John presented about the opportunity, and that's how we met.
Awesome. So John, what is the goal of Tech Warrior and I shouldn't say goal, bad answer, sorry, bad question. How are you doing to try and get more companies to come and want to participate in the Tech Warrior enterprise?
So we're always trying new things. The saying failure is not an option, it's garbage. Whoever said that is a failure. because you got to fail. As Jamie has pointed out, you got to learn. Don't be a fail hog. If you fail at something, learn from it and move forward. So we've learned from failures, but we also want to maintain the true heart of the enterprise is, yes, small businesses. We have to have small business because someone's got to make the devices. But at the end of the day, it's all about the men and women that are out there in some capacity defending this country. And with that, I also include our first responders because some of these products have great applicability, and it's always good to have a commercial market, not just a military. So that is the bottom line of where the heart lies. So as things are changing, COVID has made us think completely different. I'll be the first one to tell you, I hate this. I can't stand staring into this computer. I'd rather be at an event and flesh on flesh, shake your hand, look you in the eye. That's just a human being reaction. But this is what we have to do to flatten the curve, turn the curve the other way, make a pancake. I'm not sure what we're doing at this point, but this is what we have to do to be safe and successful. So we've adapted. We just completed an event with 56, probably a little bit more small businesses that we got some amazing feedback. So we're always adapting. So whatever the next pain point becomes for our men and women in service and our first responders, we'll adapt. Let's be 100% transparent. I never thought we'd be able to do anything in space. Even from the simplest, going back into space was kind of one of those. We haven't really seen a lot of successful in our lifetime. We just had a launch happen on Saturday. The Space Force has been around for a full year now. Those are going to be the main avenues that we're going to continue to try to help those folks, because we're going to be fighting space wars at some point. I hope it's nothing like the actual Netflix Space Wars, because it would be a little silly. But we're going to help foster that and get technologies to space. We're going to help get technologies to cyberspace. We're going to continue to support our men and women on the ground with tactical and medical. But there is no area that we're not going to touch, or at least try to. And maybe we fail, but at least we're going to fail forward.
Right. Great. So one more quick question for John, and then I'll get a couple of closing comments from Aaron and Jamie. So John, I just got a question, and we only got a couple of minutes left, so we'll try to keep the answer short. But the question was, we've talked a lot about technologies and people bringing technologies to Tech Warrior. Is there an opportunity for a company that offers a unique service to contact you guys and be part of a Tech Warrior event as well?
Absolutely. It goes back to the team concept of, if your service helps streamline a process and make our job easier, of course. We don't exclude anybody. If it's completely absurd, then obviously we'll try to fit it in. But our team has been very adaptive of putting 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag of stuff.
Awesome. Thanks. So we're almost out of time. So I'm going to ask Jamie and Aaron to be pretty quick, but I'll kind of frame the question of, can you give me a couple of words of how Tech Warrior made your experience with the Air Force better? Go ahead, Aaron. We'll start with you.
Yeah, I would just say it solidified it. It narrowed it. It sharpened it. It created opportunities for it to grow and blossom and head in the direction that it needed to go.
Thank you. Awesome. And Jamie?
Yeah, I would simply say, without it, I just wouldn't be where we are today. Never even thought it would be right for the Air Force or anything like that. I think, like a lot of civilians, we just think of planes. We don't realize that 75% of it is tactical on the ground forces. And so, just the fact that the whole agency has been open-minded enough to try something new and to think outside the box, it's been an absolute game changer for us. So.
Awesome. So Jamie and Aaron, I want to thank you for your time. You guys have been great in sharing your story with us. John, I know, really quick, where can people get information about Tech Warrior?
Yeah, so real simple, twenterprise.org. You go on there, that site hopefully will get an overhaul, but that is where all of the information is. And then you can reach out to us via email. That will also be on there. So twenterprise.org is where you need to go.
Awesome. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate your time. And I'm sure, John, you're going to hear from a bunch of companies that want to come be part of Tech Warrior. And good luck to Aaron and Jamie. It sounds like you're doing great things. So I look forward to seeing you in the future. So
Thank you.
no other
Thanks,
questions.
Matt. Thanks, John. Thanks, Aaron.
Today.
Thanks, team.
Thanks, guys.